Okay, what we're doing is we're taking a look at the unit here. So I'm going to be opening the box. It did come to the post office box, and it's a fairly large box. I was kind of surprised. I think that possibly you had the same problem that I've had in the past, is finding a box that's exactly right for the size of this phone.
Alright. Out. Watch out for the flowers. There we go. Okay, never do this, by the way. You're always supposed to cut away from you, not towards you. And I just did the wrong thing. Did you notice that? That's what happens when you're not paying attention.
So we're going to be opening the box. And the first thing I see is, holy moly, I've got a box full of bubble wrap. So let's listen.
Oh, it's a box full of bubble wrap. Let's see here. This is obviously the culprit. Let's take him out. So here we go. Whoa! Oh! Get the flower leaves off the table. Petals, excuse me.
So as you can see here, we end up getting into a huge amount of time unwrapping it, which I can truly appreciate. Your phone. You've got quite a bit of bubble wrap on that, and that's okay. I understand it, and I probably would have done the same exact thing. We're just unwrapping it here. And if nothing else, you get to enjoy the sound of the dog in the background. If it's not the dog, it's the wind chimes. If it's not the wind chimes, it's the railroad tracks in the back. If it's not the railroad tracks, it's the coyotes. It's either that or it's the Hells Angels riding their motorcycles around, or whoever they think they are. They're Easy Rider. I don't know who they think they are, but their motorcycles certainly think they are. Here we go. The paint on it is an issue. The paint is going to be more than likely going to be lead paint, lead enamel. That's the way it looks to me. It looks like it was painted back about 20, 30 years ago. Could have even been more. Things like that happen. People, they try to keep from getting paint on it. It's not saying anything about what somebody did.
Hey, where'd the transmitter arm go? That's right. That's Ollie. He's a Parson Russell's Terrier. Oh. Wow, the picture made this look a little better than it was. I'm going to lightly polish this piece. Now, I want to let you know this is nickel. They always nickel plated these. And it's brass. It's made of brass, nickel plated. We've got screw, wood screw, what looks like a wood screw.
Antique equipment that's over 110 years old. Let's face it, that's what this guy is. You're going to end up having problems are going to come up. You try to overcome the problems. You do the best you can. There are no guarantees. This I'm looking at is a disc. I don't really know what that disc is. When I first look at it, I said, they'd say, what is this? The thing here is that that disc is for the carbon, what they call a carbon arrestor. And the carbon arrestor would sit at the top of the telephone where the curvature is. They called a cathedral cut. That area was for where the wires would extend from the street and they would actually drop down and tie to the lugs on top of the telephone. And if there was a lightning strike, which, believe me, they had lightning problems back then like crazy. This is how Ben Franklin discovered electricity. So lightning's all over the place. These phones sit out in a barn somewhere. And at the time when they would install the telephone lines, they weren't encapsulated in protective plastic. These wires were sold as bare lead wires. Sometimes they were lead, sometimes, different compositions of metallic composition. Cable reel of these lines that fed from one point to another. Well, what happened is that the electricity hit and you were Joe Farmer sitting in your barn with your headset in your hand and your receiver in your hand. Keep calling it a headset. And you were talking on the phone with Mildred down the street or whatever the case may be, or the operator or whatever, and lightning were to strike. It would travel down the wires, travel down through the connectors or past the connectors to the top binding post where the carbon arrestor was. And the carbon arrestor would literally melt and completely open up the path between wires that would extend past the carbon arrestor that would feed your transmitter, your receiver, and your batteries, your local battery. So let's talk about that, local battery versus common battery. Local battery was just that. They had two huge beer can batteries in the bottom compartment of the phone that would provide the talk path, which you need voltage to actually talk, and it would provide the voltage, and the ringing that would happen would be provided by the Magneto. They would crank the handle, it would ring the operator down the way, or another phone. It never, at the time of these were installed, it never was designed to ring their own bells on your phone, regardless of what anybody says or anybody has written. That is not the truth. The crank was used to signal the phone at a distant location. Sometimes it would be 3 rings, sometimes it would be 2, etc., whatever the case may be. But this is how the whole story of people listening in on the conversations on the party lines. They would hold their hand over the mouthpiece and listen to, Joan Jett down the street talk about Betty Boop and how Betty was out flirting around with Leroy, or some other juicy gossip that was going on. And instead of it being an honor system of where they would not listen to what the other person was talking about, in other words, eavesdrop, they would actually take advantage of that. Okay, so back to the video. Okay, here I'm unraveling your receiver, and it's taken me a while, as you can see, to get my fingers in there to unwrap it. I don't blame you. I wrap stuff so that it's probably going to take somebody about 3 hours to unwrap it, as you're going to find out when you get your phone back. You got to be real slow when you're opening the items that I wrap. The one thing is going to be your handset cord. You don't want that to get damaged. So take it slow, and I've got a pair of scissors here where I'm taking that out. And let's
you one lucky boy. I'm serious. North Electric, Cleveland, Ohio, on the transmitter receiver cover. No weights, no magnets. Oh, there's the magnets. Excuse me. This.
Now here I'm having trouble getting the top piece off of the magnet receiver disk section of the inside of the receiver shell. And I'm having a terrible time trying to get it off. I'm super impressed that it's got the North Electric stamp on it, which is really fantastic. And then you've got that absolutely fantastic patent date on the top of the receiver for the 1901 patent date. You don't know how great that is. That just really verifies the fact that the phone is absolutely probably somewhere in the neighborhood of the latest 1906. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's put the video on pause. The dates of the phones, you can always tell when a phone has been manufactured prior to 1916. Really, at the 1910 point was the pivotal part of the manufacturing process. It's like all of them got together, all 20 of them, how many there were, got together. Somebody said it. Let's stop spending a lot of time and money on the faceplate and stamping them out, because it took a lot of time to do that. And not only did it take a lot of time, it took a lot of resource and material to do it. And brass is brass, but still, when you add that up, it gets really, there's a lot of labor time spent. So they did away with the cathedral top, they did away with the picture frame front, and they did away with the stamp on the front. I think Kellogg and Western Electric stamped their front faceplate. But the people that got out of doing that, and I'm talking about on the transmitter, the people that got out of doing that were not Western Electric, but Stromberg Carlson, and one other one that I can't think of right at this moment. It might have been Northern. It might have been North. But at the time, and you can always tell by a cathedral top and a picture frame phone that it's always going to be somewhere between 1901 and 1910. So you're looking at yours is anywhere between a 1902, and I'll explain that later, to about a 1908. So let's continue on with the video.
Like that. See that? Then this piece went right here. And then this piece went right.
And obviously in the video I keep talking about see that, see this, and you can't see it because I don't have it. I don't have the video frame correctly set up outside. The camera was kind of balanced on a tripod. It really wasn't screwed into it. It's a big story. Not the typical camera I use for the YouTube videos. I'm basically saying at this point that here is the carbon arrestor. We've already explained to you what it is, and then listen to this part here.
I want to say blades, switch blades, contact blades, whatever you want to call it. There should be a set of 3 of them right here, so that when this goes down, it moves a piece over in here. See these 2 holes? This is non-usable. I'm really sorry. I don't know up front how much it's going to be, but at this stage, and can it be fixed? I'm going to have to look around and try to see if I could possibly, the old phrase, cobble something together, but
Okay, well, I just ramble on the video at this part about the simple fact that your switch hook assembly is screwed. Somebody messed with it and took a critical part out of it. And why they would do that, I just couldn't figure out. That's why I'm kind of just mumbling and going off about it, because honestly it had me baffled as to why they would do that. It's unfortunate. You need another switch hook. I can't. I'm sorry. We're going to have to try to see if we can figure it out. It's just the nature of it. This is what happens. So we had some pluses right there. The switch hook was a negative.
See that?
So now I don't know what I'm
Who
talking
knows?
about.
Why do people do anything? Okay. Which brings up a philosophical question, and I'm just not going to even get into it. This piece is just a total disaster. Whoever got it in here took a lot of time getting it in here, but that's because this.
Look at the video here. Here's where I have trouble with whoever did this to your phone. They stuck a piece of 2x4 into the armature leg of a Magneto. It's almost as if they took the Magneto apart to get the armature piece out to stick it in a piece of 2x4. And I do apologize, but I'm not going. I just took the 2x4. I was so frustrated. I took the 2x4 and I threw it in the trash. It's just not necessary. When we end up replacing it, put the Magneto in, you wouldn't be able to use your 2x4 there anyway. And I don't know that you want it. If you want it, I'll be happy to cut a piece and send it back to you. But I don't think you're going to need it. So I'm kind of looking at it at this point, and I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to get this out of here? I certainly don't want to damage your phone. That's not good. You have it out for 20 minutes and you end up breaking it. That's never good. Okay, I got the piece out. There you go. And I'm just looking at it. The receiver would hook into the binding post with what is known as a receiver cord pin connector, PIN connector. Each pin connector, that's a special type of connection, for the binding post that is a dead giveaway that the phone is a 1904 phone. Because in 1905 to 1906 is when they started putting the binding posts on the inside of the phone. This is specifically the same thing with the Kellogg. Kellogg had outside binding posts on their 1902 phone. Stromberg Carlson had outside binding posts on their 1904 phone. So your binding posts being indicated by a pin connector on the outside puts your phone at approximately 1901 to 1906. I can't pinpoint the date. I wish it had a date written on it on the inside. It doesn't. But as far as I'm concerned, you could easily say, look, here's my 1904 phone. Because what you're really doing is at that point is you're just putting the year date into the middle of it as an estimation point. They probably look the same from 1901 to 1904 anyway. So, big deal. Let's stop the video here real quick. When we do talk about the North Electric, people get it mixed up with Northern Electric. Northern Electric at the time, yes, they were around the same period of time, and it was by some gentleman that started his company up in Quebec, Canada, and that sort of thing. And that was a whole different company, not the same whatsoever. North Electric was in Cleveland, Ohio. They were later bought up by Ericsson, which in turn sold off to ITT. So, which is too bad, but that's the way it goes. North Electric was founded in Cleveland by George Drumheller and Charles North. They were both linemen for the Cleveland Telephone Company, which later became Ohio Bell. So these two guys used to go to work and, get up on the lines, run the lines, this and that and the other thing. And then one day they had a big fat gigantic brainstorm. Hey, you know what? Let's jump on the bandwagon. Everybody's making these phones. Look at that dude over there, Kellogg. Look at that dude over there, Julius Andre, and that other guy, Monarch. They're doing it. And here's one that's in Chicago called Chicago Telephone and Supply that was started by somebody else altogether. So there was a host of people getting into this whole process right around 1898. Everybody just jumped on the bandwagon, because AT&T lost their copyright notice right around in 1897, and the minute that they lost their patent right was ended, then everybody jumped on it and started making telephones. And these two guys that used to be linemen for the for the Cleveland Telephone Company, they were a couple of guys that apparently had their poop together, so to speak, and jumped on the bandwagon with everybody else, and hence started the North Electric Company telephone builders, sellers. They got the ad on here. It says the North Electric Company, 158 St. Clair Street, Cleveland, Ohio, and it says agents wanted. But apparently they didn't get the right agents, because they didn't outsell Stromberg Carlson, Monarch, Chicago, Kellogg, and Western. They didn't outsell them. But that's not to say that their product wasn't any better than the other ones. It was as good, if good. So the phone you've got is a heavy-duty phone. Looks good. The oak on it is tiger oak. It's correct for the period of the time. And so let's get back to the video here. There we go. So now I'm just inspecting your hinges on your front of your panel. I'm looking at the support wood for the shelf supports. And now I'm looking at the handset cord. This is another dead-on giveaway that your phone is a 1902 phone, in my opinion, because the cord is not solid brown. The cord, the outside cloth wrapping of the handset cord is black and red striped. They call it rattlesnake design. And whoever came up with that, I don't know, I don't care, who cares? The point is, it was red and black striped, and it was not solid brown. And the red and striped is a dead-on indicator of a 1902. So there you've got two things going for the fact it's 1902. The outside binding post, the tag on the front, very much so, and the leftover remnants of your receiver cord. So you're looking good. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm probably just droning on like I like to do. I'm talking about the receiver cord because I'm so impressed with the fact that it is rattlesnake cord, not solid brown. So let's see if we can speed this up a little bit. Let's go over to here. I don't know what I'm doing here. Let's look back here. I'm looking at the phone. Let's see. There was a piece there. I didn't know what it was. There was another piece. There was another screw. It wasn't really a machine screw. Here I'm kind of looking at it from the side. And I'm just kind of wrapping it up here. Let's increase the volume.
Well, it's a continuation of just finalizing up the breakout of the phone. The North Electric Cathedral top, picture frame front, oak, tiger oak, nice. North Electric telephone from around about 1904, 1906 time frame. You know what, dude? You lucked out. Man, did you luck out. You lucky you. Check it out. 1,665 ohms going across the two leads across the coil. Positive, negative, alternating current, voltage, 30 volts can withstand up to 90. Ring that coil. That's what rings the bells, causes the armature to go back and forth. within its magnetic field. And you know what? You are lucky, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if you have a 1,000 ohm coil, you're not going to be able to hook up a whole lot of other telephones to that same telephone line. It's called a ringer equivalence number. Ringer equivalence number is how many bells, quote unquote, can you put on your line for your bells to ring. In other words, I can only put 4.0 REN. That's the maximum amount according to code and written code and that sort of stuff. The guaranteed phone service, hardwired tip and ring dial tone service. And where am I? Okay, yeah. Usually a standard 500 set from the 1950s is about 2165 ohms. That means when you get around to it and you start thinking about it, a 1.0, 2000 ohms is below the 1.0, I do believe, the 1.0 standard. Which means you could literally hook up about 4 phones. In this particular case, you're going to be able to hook up the wall phone with about 2 to 3 other phones that was hard coil, magnet, armature driven bell ringers. Okay, let's get that straight. Electronic ringers are a different story. If you have an electronic ringer, you can probably get about 5 of them on there with this. But with this one, you've lucked out. That's all there is to it. We don't need a new ringer. That's the story. Okay. That's it. That's the review. Everything looks good. To some degree. We got a couple things here and there. We're obviously, if this is the screw for the top, we're obviously missing the screw for the bottom. That's the way it goes. Can't win them all. There you have it.
Goodbye. Thanks for watching. I shall be back.
I wish I could stay longer.
Goodbye.
Please, hang up now. The end. Goodbye.
I'm done.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.